our vets, our returning vets have done a great job. It's kind of taking the reins over from the veteran class of last season. I think they've been motivated right out of the gate, testing well and showing that they want to run this thing back.
John Mitchell heads into his second season as the head coach of the Wisconsin Windigo. As he prepares the team for the year ahead, he dives into detail on what to expect for this upcoming roster on this episode of NA Now.
Yeah, thanks, Ava. Glad to be here. Excited to get the 2025-26 season underway here in now our new city of Milwaukee. So that's a lot of what sort of the summer was for our new organization. We obviously were purchased at the end of last season and relocated here in Milwaukee. And so it's just sort of been a shift and getting everything that was up there for the last 3 years down to Milwaukee and situated. And, it takes a village, to put something like this together. So we've brought a new couple faces on board full time and have a new ownership staff that are, have been extremely supportive and have a lot of resources, and we're excited to, see how things, see where this sort of takes us in the next few years.
Absolutely. And last year you helped to lead the Windigo to their best season yet as an organization with a 41-14, 1-3 regular season record and clinching that Midwest Division title. Talk to me about that testament of that roster from last season.
It was really special. It's something again. I think I mentioned it a couple times last season. That was a roster that was really put together by the previous coaching staff of Casey Curley, who's in Watertown, and Blake Idala. They did obviously a very good job in their first 2 years there. So I was blessed to kind of slide into a position that kind of somewhat had already been established. We had a very good returning vet core, which again I think a lot of coaches can attest is very important in having a winning culture and a winning hockey team. And so at the end of the day, with the the additions of our freshman class last year and the returning vet core, it just made for a really, really special team, really special group of guys. Ones that players and coaches that have been a part in winning teams experience. It's just another level of tightness, camaraderie that you can only really experience on some of those winning organizations.
Absolutely. And looking at your own experience, you've played at the junior and NCAA Division I level. How does those past experiences shape you as a coach today?
That is a really good question. It's something that, I think having gone through, what they are experiencing emotionally, physically, and then having done it at a high level, you're able to sort of put yourself in their shoes, and have, that's, one portion of, I think, coaching is obviously being able to put yourself in those shoes. And someone, once told me people can't give what they don't have. And I have that experience, at this level and at the next. But then at the same time, there's been so much more that's kind of gone into coaching that I've had to learn, over these, recent 3 to 4 years, very, very quickly. And so, at the end of the day, I have, there's coaches that have played at a high level, have that, that experience of being in the player's shoes, being able to empathize with them, knowing what they're going through physically and mentally. And I do think, that really helps in, becoming a really well-rounded coach.
Absolutely. And for yourself, you're a native of Wisconsin and you're coaching a team based in Wisconsin. What does it mean to serve as a head coach in your home state?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You're kind of getting into an echelon and a ranking of hockey where some of my buddies and my family members are finally starting to watch and track. And, I see them kind of, start to follow the NA website and the Facebook website, and they're sending me clips. So it's pretty cool. You get, starting to get somewhat of a recognition at a relative level. But it's really cool to be home, again, here in Milwaukee and obviously just a couple hours south from where I was originally raised. And so that friends and family can come see us and hang out with us.
With that last season's roster in your first year as a head coach in the North American Hockey League, you make it all the way to the Robertson Cup semifinal series. What lessons did you learn during playoffs last year that you're hoping to carry over into this upcoming season?
That winning's hard. Winning's really hard. Um, and you can't cheat the process. You can't skip steps. Which again, this season our guys didn't last year. They did it and played the game the right way. Thus the reason they had the success that they did. And now, we can't rest on that. We can't get complacent, and it's just kind of rinse and repeat. And again, you can't cheat the process. You got to mind the process, and the kids got to go back, even the vets, and they got to work that much harder, because at the end of the day, we fell a game short, and so the job is, we didn't officially get the job done.
With that last season's roster, it featured 13 athletes with NCAA commitments. What does it mean as a coach to see your athletes get those opportunities at the next level?
It's everything. It really is. It's everything. As much as as the coaches in this league, I'm sure can relate. Every coach wants to win. Every organization and owner wants to win. But at the end of the day, the purpose at least why I get up in the morning, is hopefully to see these guys playing on like a Friday, Saturday night at the Kohl Center, the Mariucci, or wherever it is that they may be, and really, as realizing those college dreams.
Absolutely. What drives you as a coach?
Kind of just answered that, I guess, right there. The that it was for me. It was the best 4 years of my life. Playing collegiate hockey in my home state, and so if I can help, and assist, with a player and doing the same, it's what gives me purpose.
As you look at the players that are in the North American Hockey League, what makes the athletes a little bit different than any other junior league out there?
Yeah, I've been watching a couple of these now, and I think guys, Lenny Childs hit the nail on the head. A few other coaches have said the same thing. They're battle tested. It's a hard, heavy league. There's a discrepancy in age range. You have heavy, strong, age out 20-year-olds playing against 16, 17-year-olds. So it really gets them battle tested. And it's, the bus rides and riding the bus and playing the 60 games. Colleges look for that. They look for those athletes that are battle tested, so that when when they're in playoffs or in the national tournament, they have guys that they can rely on that have been in those, and been in pinches and been in the heat of the moment.
Absolutely. And with training camp underway for the Windigo right now, what has impressed you the most with the athletes that are there? I think coming back, excuse me, our vets, our returning vets have done a great job. It's kind of, taken the reins over from the veteran class of last season. I think they've been motivated, right out of the gate, testing well and showing that they want to run this thing back. And then, our freshman class, though a lot of them, I think are going to be some exciting players. We're going to have to pick, we're going to have about 18, 19 fresh faces. And so, it's going to be a tremendous learning curve. There's going to be a lot of bumps in the road. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to be able to play some fast and exciting hockey come, the new year. With having the handful of returners come back to the Windigo for this upcoming season, what does it mean to have them in the locker room and truly lead the charge on the culture side of things for the team?
It makes our job as a staff that much easier. They have an idea of what we want, and we know what we're all about. And they're just kind of an appendage of who we are. And we can come out of the gates, I think, that much quicker. And then again, this taking a little bit off of our plate, and how, and with regards to us having to establish that environment and that culture, they can do it, already for us, while we focus on some other things.
And I know you talked about this earlier, being in a new rink for this upcoming season, but take us through what you have seen of the new rink and what people at home can expect.
They can expect it to be pretty loud. It's Eagle River, obviously, the tight knit community that was. It was a fantastic place to play, and it's going to be severely missed. We still have our relationships up there and we keep in contacts, and people be texting us and following up with where we're at in camp and on the website and on Instagram and Facebook. And so it's going to be something really similar to that, just a little bit on a greater scale. Brookfield's a great spot. They're a fantastic community. They're tight knit. They seem to, hockey seems to be kind of running through their blood a little bit. And then at the building right now, we're into some little bit of renovations and building up a locker room and getting things situated for the guys coming in. And it's kind of just like a tight, like a tin can. So it gets, but a nice one, and it gets loud, when it fills up. And I think it kind of holds 1,000 to 1,500 people. And we're kind of expecting from the initial feedback from community, members, that the crowd could ramp up pretty quickly here, and we could be looking at a full barn come, January, February.
That's awesome. And something I saw online from last season, that your team had a special tradition of playing a game called Juice after practice. Will that game continue on into this upcoming year with this upcoming roster?
Yeah, I think I believe, we're as humans, we're creatures of habit. And so, and if I think you're referring to the game that I think you're referring to, it's where I think they just do a breakaway contest
Mhm.
and against the goaltenders. And I think that game has been going on. I think I played that game in the minors, for a while. So I don't know if they, claim that to invented it themselves. If they do, they're a couple of liars, because that game's been going on for a while. But yeah, they do a shootout contest, and then the last guy that is still standing has to give everybody juice or buy some Gatorade, for the remainder of the team. So pretty certain that that's going to continue.
And is there any other special traditions or events that people at home need to keep their eye out for, that the Wisconsin Wendigo do every single year, or are planning on doing with this upcoming season?
Yeah, get ready to have a lot of fun. Wisconsin Windigo, the Windy boys are in town. It's going to be a lot of fun. A good Friday, Saturday night, to come out and watch some good hockey.
Absolutely. And to kind of look ahead for the upcoming year, the greatest show on ice is quickly approaching with the NA Showcase. And as teams gear up to head to Blaine, Minnesota for the NA Showcase, what are you looking forward to most once you're there with the Wendigo?
Yeah, it's always a great time, that the North American Hockey League sets up for us. A lot of scouts, a lot of exposure, a lot of social media, a lot of FaceTime. I know the guys are going to be, ramped up. We're going to do our best to kind of, remind them that it's another hockey game. But at the end of the day, these games count just like the ones, at the end of the season. And we want to come out with our best foot forward, ready to earn some points.
Absolutely. And to wrap up this interview, as you reflect on last year, what was one of your favorite memories with the team?
I mean, there were a lot. There were a lot of memories. The bus rides. Those are always, this is some of my favorite times. I don't know if it's me just personally, but I do enjoy riding the bus. It's kind of this other little sanctuary for me. But it would have been punching that ticket to the Robbie Cup Final Four was something that I won't forget. Seeing, being up there, and the seconds kind of counting down, I can still remember pretty vividly. And then just the guys afterward in the locker room are very, very vivid, and I won't forget for the remainder of my lifetime.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, John, for taking the time to chat with me. We'll see you in a few short weeks at the NA Showcase.
Awesome. Thanks, Ava.